Hello everyone and welcome back to the final video on the Prim Stitch Along. It's been such a pleasure to have you join us here at Riley Blake Designs. My name is Jennifer Long. I manage the machine embroidery department at Riley Blake Designs, and it has been an absolute delight to be seeing all of these blocks stitched together in our Facebook group, on social media, and just cheering you along. So we are going to work through the final quilt assembly instructions together. Of course, you can be as creative as you want and use these blocks in any type of project, however you like, but we're going to walk through the instructions just so you can see how they are laid out and how you can be just checking your assembly each time. So I'm going to give you tons of tips and tricks in this video. A few things before we get started is you want to make sure you're prepped. So I have all my sashing blocks and my cornerstones here ready to go. I do have look at them. It's so fun. I do have all of our blocks. This is the 6x10 size stitched out that we've been doing. And you can see that I have them all labeled at the back. So they are all labeled with that block label at the back, so we can easily lay them all out. I have the cornerstone stars and a sashing one here as well. I do have the quilt beside us just for inspiration, and I have our instructions ready to go. So let's begin. First thing I just want to point out is that all seams now, because you're going to be sewing on your sewing machine, are going to be that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Couple tips and tricks. If you have a 1/4 inch foot on your machine, this would be a great time to change it out. If you don't, maybe you have a piece of tape or a marker just to make it really, really easy so you have an accurate seam allowance when you are sewing. Unless we otherwise state it, everything is a 1/4 inch seam allowance from here on in. If no directions are given for pressing, then you can press as desired, but sometimes we give directions for pressing, and sometimes we go in one direction and then in the other direction, and that's denoted by these arrows here. You can see there's some going this way and that way, and that just helps really lay the quilt flat and sometimes even nestle those seams together. So if you have something folding this way and then that way, when you butt them together, it has a nice spot to kind of nestle in and you can get your point perfect. All right, so we have lots of diagrams and we always ask you to reference them. You're going to notice that there's a picture of each block so you can visually see it, but you can also notice that it's labeled here. So you can see that we have cornerstone 1. So I'm just going to take that over. We can place cornerstone 1 here and Prim steps A block. And you might not be sure exactly how to orientate it. So maybe you want to think this way or that way. Of course, you can be as creative as you want, but you can check out the image here too. And that's how you know how to orientate it. And you continue on there. Prim steps 3, B steps C, and then cornerstone 2. You are going to pin it together before you sew. So a couple tips when you're tips and tricks when you're pinning is that you put one right side together, and I like to pin. Everybody is different, but I like to pin perpendicular to how I am sewing. And that is just so that no shifting can happen when I am sewing. So I like to put my pins in this way, and I actually have them hanging out a little bit. Of course, you can pin however you love to pin. And that way, when it goes in my machine, I do not sew over this pin, but I leave my needle in a down position and then just pull it out right before I come. This is a great little magnet holder, so it can just easily grab them. I can just throw it anywhere close and it grabs, and you'll sew that together. Then you're going to notice that it says row 1. So this will be row 1 once you've sewn it all together. And it says that row 1 should measure 4 1/4 by 27 1/2. This is a great time before you get all the way down to just measure. Sometimes it can happen where you've accidentally forgotten to sew maybe one piece on here, and it's better to notice that now. You'd figure that out if you were out by 1.5 inches, let's say. Or you can just just make sure if it's close. Then it has 2 other measurements right here showing what the 6x10 and the 8 by 12 size will be. So in the parentheses, it says 5.5 by 36.5. And so that's if you're making the 8 by 12 size. And then the 6 3/4 by 45.5, and that's if you're making the largest size, the 9 by 12 size. So depending on what stitchable area you're using, which one you're going to measure and check. Once it's there, you can go ahead and label this as row 1 once it's fully assembled and set it aside. Next, I want to talk through this next row. They'll all repeat after this, but I want to talk through this next row. It's kind of in 2 steps. So again, referencing this diagram, we're going to choose these 3 blocks. We have the flag block, checking, flag block, yes. Then we have the basket block. Here's our basket block. And then we have the angel block. Where's our angel block? Angel block. Then we have, just like this, then we can lay out the sashing Q and LL. So the sashing Q is right here, and the sashing LL is right here. Notice that there is cornerstones there and sashing again at the bottom. So we have another piece of sashing here, a sashing F. I actually love how this is assembled, and I'm going to walk you through it right away. We have a sashing W. And that one is this one. No, this is the sashing D here I found. And the sashing W is this here. Oh, right here. Great. And 2 cornerstones. Wonderful. Okay, so then it says you're going to lay everything out for proper placement. You are going to sew your sashing here and your cornerstone together and press these. So you're going to take this one here and sew this to here and press it up. Once you have those sewn together, this is an easier way to sew your blocks together. So I'm just going to line this up. Let's give us a little bit more room here. So we have room. I'm going to line it up so you can see on the grid. Good. Like this. Excellent. Now, this is a little bit different way of assembling than you might do for sashing, but it's actually going to be easier. So I just want to share this tip and trick with you. So if you sew these together and then you sew these together almost like vertical, good. Then all you have to do is come down here and sew this together. And you don't have to worry about this being a long, wonky sew together. A couple tips and tricks is here. If you are pressing this up, then you are going to press this down. And yes, we do want to press this down so that the block pops up and it looks the nicest. We don't see anything through it. So you're going to press this going down here, and then you're going to press this one going up in opposite. And that way, when you flip and sew this together, on here, you pin and sew those together, that those will actually be nestled together and you'll have this whole block. So it's asking you on step 2 to just do this part. Once you have this all assembled, that is when you take your next 2 steps blocks. So your next 2 step blocks, and you're going to put those on either side, just like this, and sew those together. And that is your whole row number 2. So that will be your whole row number 2. And you're going to continue to work this way throughout the quilt. So it feels like we're just pulling it into little small bite-sized pieces, so that you don't have to worry about having huge amounts on your domestic sewing machine. You're just doing one block. You're kind of creating a block out of this, creating a block out of this, and so forth. So let's just take the instructions and walk through the rest together. You're going to do the same thing for farmer, prim, and farmhouse, along with the appropriate sashings and cornerstones again. Then you're going to sew those steps to the sides, just as we have shown you here. And then we'll do the church, farm girl, and shaker boxes, along with those appropriate sashings. And then finally, we do the cat, pairs, and heart, and those appropriate sashings and step locks. Then you will do the final step locks, the cornerstone and the steps, just as you did here, but that's going to be at the bottom. And then all you have to do, I'm going to show you this, is you can take this, it kind of carries over on 2 pages just like this. You have each row laid out evenly, row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You just lay all of your rows out, pin at every intersection. So wherever there's an intersection here, pin it, and you'll just sew along the row and press in one direction. You can press everything down, you can press it open, you can press it in alternate. If it doesn't have arrows, you're welcome to press it in any direction. And then finishing. So once you have the whole quilt together, you can take your quilt and choose to quilt it in any way. You can take it, do it on your domestic machine. You can do it on a long arm. We did ours on a custom quilting here, but you can do it in any way. You can just quilt it in between and let things pop. And then you can do the binding of your choice. However you would like to do binding. We also have tutorials for all of that over at the Riley Blake Designs website. So we at Riley Blake cannot wait to see your Prim quilts. We would love for you to share inside the Riley Blake Designs and Machine Embroidery Facebook group your progress. Are you working on block 1? Are you just choosing your fabrics? Have you finished your completed quilt? Are you using a block on the back of a jean jacket, perhaps? However you are doing it, you are invited to come and share in the community and join with us and celebrate this beautiful design by Lori Holt Designs for Be in My Bonnet, the Prim quilt that is brought to Machine Embroidery exclusively in 3 sizes. It's been just a pleasure to stitch along with you. So thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Jennifer Long. I manage the Machine Embroidery department at Riley Blake Designs, and we cannot wait to see what you create with this USB. Until next time, see you again soon. Bye for now.